that demon make me leave my body. I was traveling, but something inside of me tell me, say the Our Father prayer. So I began to say the Our Father prayer, and I came back in my body. So he came to my bedroom for 4 days. I got scared. My whole body paralyzed.
Warning, ignorance isn't protection, it's deception. There's a war happening right now, beyond what your eye can see. The enemy is after your mind, your home, and your destiny. But the one who speaks truth is calling you higher. This is God's Voice Daily, where the supernatural gets real. And here is today's featured episode. Enjoy. Grace, welcome to God's Voice Daily. So you first saw a demon when you were just 8 years old, but later Jesus appeared to you and completely changed the course of your life. So you got to tell me what happened, Grace?
Okay. So I am from the Caribbean islands, and I am born to arranged marriage. My mother and father was arranged marriage. And we come from six of us. My father was a very poor man, right? And he raised 6 of us, but I had a very, very happy childhood. We didn't have much clothes or anything like that, but we had food and we had love. And that was so important to me, right? But growing up, we were Catholics. My father was a Catholic. My mom was Hindu. So we used to go to church, and my father and the school. I used to go to a primary school, which is a Catholic-run school by a nun. And they used to carry us across to the church to do confessions and all these things that the Catholic do and pray to the saints. But I really wasn't too close I didn't feel a connection playing to a statue and all these things. I didn't really feel a connection. So I just used to let go because we had no choice as a child growing up. But during that course of that time, they used to teach us the Our Father prayer. And I used to learn the Our Father prayer. So at 8 years old, something happened to me. Now, we lived in a 2-room bedroom with a small living room and a kitchen. My mom and dad stayed in one room, and my brothers and sisters stayed in one room. So that day, I went out to play, and it was getting late, and my father told me to come inside. So the hours passed, and it was around 11 p.m. that night. I saw this man coming into my bedroom. Now, he was dressed in a black cloak. He was about 6'6" in height. But when I saw his face, I got scared. My whole body paralyzed. I was so frightened. I said, "What is that?" No, he had 2 horns on his head.
Whoa. His
eyes were bloodshot red, and his mouth was long like an animal. His hands were so big with claws. Now, he made me could not speak. I could not say a word. I was wondering, trying to call, couldn't call. My sisters was on the bed. I couldn't touch them, anything like that. Now, in that same room, my sister slept in another bed. So she was facing me. So he came to my bedroom for 4 days. He wouldn't stay long. He would stand up by the bedroom.
Did you say 4 days? I want to make sure I get this.
Yes, 4 days. Wow. 4 days.
4 days too long.
He was standing by the bed, the foot of the bed, and he would stare me down. Now, I used to go to my parents and say, "Daddy, I'm frightened. Just I seen something." And he used to say, "Grace, it's a dream." I said, "Okay." The 4th day, that demon made me leave my body. Now my spirit came out of my body. I know my spirit came out of my body. How I know this? In my country, there's we live close to the sea. And there was a place where he was taking me down, I was seeing the seaside. So I was traveling. But something inside of me tell me, say the Our Father prayer. So I began to say the Our Father prayer, and I came back in my body. No, that demon left and never come back again. But something weird happened. Now, 2017, I'm going forward. 2017, my sister lives abroad. So she called me. And I was asking my sister, you remember our childhood? And she said, yes. And she said, Grace, do you remember that man used to come in your bedroom? So I asked her, I said, how you know that? She said, when he comes, I used to put the sheet over my head.
Wow. So she saw him too.
Yes, she saw him. So I said, but you never said anything. She said, no, I was frightened. And I didn't want to say anything. So last year, 2024, my mom stays with me now. So I said, Mommy, remember anything strange when I was growing up? She said, yes. There was a demon used to come in your bedroom.
And she knew.
And she saw. Now, we backtracking back. I noticed my parents used to be praying up the house. Like they used to walk around like incense praying, my father praying. And I used to wonder, why is my father doing all that?
Because they saw the thing, huh?
They saw the demon. So that just gave me consolation because I think I was probably dreaming, but they really saw this demon. I asked my mother to describe it, and she described the exact thing that I saw. Now I'm moving forward there.
Hey, before we move forward, I'm curious. When this thing was taking you somewhere, what do you think it was taking you? Hey, before we get back to the episode, my father has a free gift for you. So let me explain. For those of you that don't know, my father was an underground minister in Kiev, Ukraine. My father risked his life preaching the gospel on the streets of Kiev, Ukraine at the time when it wasn't popular or allowed. And he also raised a family of 9 children in the most hostile environment. There's so many lessons that he learned throughout his journey. And for years, I've been begging him. I was saying, Father, please write a book about your life, about your journey. And he would always dismiss it as, who wants to read a book about my life? And I was like, my children, me. And so, you know what? Finally, he sat down, he wrote the book. He did it in like 1 week. I translated the book to English, and both of us, we want you to have this book for absolutely free. And the way to get this book is super simple. Go to Instagram, find me at God's Voice Today, and send me a private message with the word book. And I will automatically send you a link to get it. And now, let's get back to the episode. Enjoy.
It's like in my soul to go.
So you think you would have died that night if you didn't pray?
Yes, I think it was taking me out of my body.
Wow.
Right? And I'm going a little forward. Now, as a child, I used to walk about like in the yard and go around the house. But that day, I went to see my aunt, but she had died. So when I went down to see my aunt family, I saw my aunt who had died sitting on a chair. So I said, hi, Auntie. But when I catch myself, I said, Auntie? But Auntie died. No, I realized as a child, I used to see spirit. People who died, I used to see them. Just as how I see in the physical, I used to see spirits.
Do you think it was actually her, or do you think it was a demon manifesting as her?
I couldn't tell if it was a demon because I saw her just as how she was. Everything. Sitting on a chair. No change of the face or anything. It was just like my aunt.
Did she say anything to you?
She said hello. And I never went back to that house because I was scared. Right? So my grandfather also had passed away too. So we went to the countryside to spend a few days with my grandma. Now, they put my sister and I in one bedroom, and the place was dark as countryside. So I couldn't sleep because I was feeling so uncomfortable. When I look up, I saw my grandfather come in the bedroom, pick up his shaving set, and walk back out. And I said, but why did I see these things as a child? So we're moving forward here. So after the struggles of, I reached 18, a teenager now, and things wasn't going for me. I had a wonderful childhood and I was struggling because, my father didn't have the money to send us to school for our education. So I was kind of depressed. No, I said something which I should not have said. I said there was no God, right? Because I was really, really depressed. So my brother used to go to a church, which is an American Baptist church. He had come out from being a Catholic. And he used to come and say, Grace, do you know Jesus? I said, Jesus? Yes, I hear about Jesus. In church they always say about Jesus, but they mostly talk about Mary and the other saints. So I tell him, okay, I will visit the church. That day, it was a Sunday. I tell him I'll come along with him, right? So I went to church. Maybe one time in the church, I saw the churches, people were very nice to me. They were laughing, talking, and they were very nice people. So I said, okay, I'll go to church again. Now, during that time, while I was going to church, I had a dream. And in that dream, there was a dark force was running after me. Every room I entered, the door was closed. So I had to open the next door to go into the other room. It was closed. So I kept on going door after door after door. When I reached at the end of the last door, there was a black cliff. You could not see that down inside of there. It was so pitch dark. So my feet was at the end. When I heard a voice, Grace, look up. And there was Jesus. In all his glory, standing in the midst of the air. And he said, Grace, he stretched his hand towards me and said, Grace, if you take my hand and come with me, I will show you the light. So I stretched my hand up to Jesus. And he pulled me up. And he turned to the right and opened a door. And I saw a glimpse into paradise.
Wow.
So when I looked in that door, it was such a beautiful greenery. And you know how they have the animals and the children playing? It was like that. I saw that. It was one of the most beautiful things I ever see. The people were so joyful, or so at peace. And then he closed back the door. So I got up from my sleep and I said to myself, wow, I saw Jesus. So I kept going to church. Then a few months after, I was sleeping and I heard this loud voice. It was like the whole earth shaking. Grace, get up. As I opened my eyes, I saw a vision. And I said, yes, Father. That's how I answered back. He said, Grace, go to the river of Jordan. Take your brothers and go to the river of Jordan and bathe. Now, the very next Sunday, I went to my pastor. I said, Pastor, could I be baptized? So he said, yes. And that same weekend, I had met my boyfriend, which is my husband at that time, right? My boyfriend. And he said to me, Grace, we're going out on that weekend to go on an excursion. I said, no, I can't go anywhere. I said, this Sunday is for my God because he told me to go and baptize. Bear to me represent baptize and Jordan. So I went and baptized, right? And a few months after that, I heard a voice, that same voice calling me, Grace, get up. So I opened my eyes and I saw a vision again. And the Lord said to me, the heavens opened. He said, ask and you shall receive it. Seek and you shall find it. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Open your hands, Grace. And a cross came down from heaven and fell in my hands. So I began to change the way I see things. Like the world mean anything to me anymore. Because here it is. I had a God that is speaking to me. And it wasn't just any God. It was the God of the Bible. Now, I go in forward again. So during that time, the Lord woke me up. I was sleeping and he woke me up. He said, Grace, come. And I began to follow the Lord. And the Lord took me down to the opening of hell. When I went in there, I saw sulfur. Now, he didn't take me right down to hell. He just took me into. We didn't reach far. And I saw demons on all sides. But when they saw the Lord, they were bowing. Right? And they were like horns in their ugly form. Very ugly. And the Lord brought me out. Now, remember I told you I was frustrated and I was depressed and all these things? One day, a gentleman came to my father's door. And he said, where is Grace? So my father said, she's inside. He said, tell Grace she needs to get all her qualifications and she starts her job on Monday. Now, that was the first beginning of what the Lord did for me. I got my first job because God gave me divine favor. When I started my job and I had gotten baptized, I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I don't want to be in this world. I don't want to search for a husband. Could you send one for me?
Oh.
Right? I asked him, I said, I don't want to look for one. You send that husband that you have for me. Now I was going to school, technical school, and I was sitting down on a bench one evening. And there this guy comes in. So he sat right next to me on that bench.
He brought him to you, just like you asked.
Yes, right next to me. So then he started a conversation. He introduced himself. I introduced myself. I said, okay, I'm just here to do a course. And he said he just come to collect a document. He lives 2 hours away from where I live. But he just come to get a document. I said, okay. And he picked up the document, whatever it is. He said, nice meeting you. And he walked away. Now, a month after that, that same guy came at my classroom. Now, someone came and said, Grace, there's someone outside to you. I said, outside to me? I don't know anybody who could come to me because I don't know nobody in the school except for the students in the class. When I went outside, the same guy who sat next to me was the same guy. So I said, what you doing here? He said, I come back because I'm interested in you.
Bold man.
So I said, you're interested in me? What make you be interested in me? He's saying, just by our conversation. Now, I began to have a conversation with him and I asked him about his life. And he told me that he was baptized and he believed in Christ. Right? And that was a thing that hit me because that was divine intervention. Because here it is a guy who loved the Lord just as I love the Lord. And I knew then that this man was going to be my husband. It was almost a year and a half into we meeting each other. Now, when I met this guy, I told him that I will meet him to have something to eat. So he told me no. He said, the best thing to do is go and introduce himself to my parents first.
Wow.
So I knew that he had good intentions. Because at this generation, they don't do those things.
Right.
But he wanted to meet my mom and dad.
True gentleman.
A year and a half into the relationship, he went to my father and he said, I'm interested in Grace and I would like to get married to her. My father said, okay. We got married. And I began to have a divine encounter with God. Now, the Lord was with me every step of the way.
Mm.
Every step of the way. Before I was even pregnant with my first child, I saw Angel Gabriel. Now, I was sleeping at night, and I see this big angel. I could say he about 9 feet. He was real tall, had golden hair. He was dressed all in white, but he was glowing. And Angel Gabriel told me, Grace, you're about to have a daughter. Wow. And I would like to say this prayer for this child. Now, he told me what prayer to say, and he told me what to go and do. He said, say this prayer for this child. So I went to get my blood tests because I was having problems with children to conceive at the beginning, right? And I tell myself, the doctor said, he'll give me treatment or whatever it is. But I said, I'll pray about it first, doctor. And I did conceive. And when I went to do the ultrasound, it was a girl. And she was born, but she was special. She was a special child. My daughter, when she was 2 years old, was doing maths. She was writing properly, speaking. And I knew this child was special because Angel Gabriel had told me to say this prayer for this child. Right? God began to do a work in my life. He began to bless me tremendously. Now, my husband, at the time when I got married, and a husband, he came from absolutely nothing. But God helped him. There was an interview for going offshore, and I think it was 100 people. And out of the 100, they picked 5, and he was one of the 5. I used to stand in my bedroom and go by the window and pray and seek God and pray. And one day, I was praying. And I said, Lord, are you here with me? Because I'm feeling you. I said, if you're here with me, Lord, show me you're hearing me. So I took a camera and I snapped a picture. So I think in my mind, if you snap a picture, you will see things that you're not seeing, right? So I heard a strange noise in that camera. I said, how that camera sounds so like the camera not working from a phone, eh? So a few days after, I went back in the camera. You know what I saw? I saw a step going up to heaven. I still have the picture today. Yes, I took it. And I saw the Lord in the picture.
Do you still have that picture somewhere?
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. If you could send it my way, that'd be awesome.
And that is how I knew that the Lord is with me. Now, the Lord began to transform me spiritually because I began to get a gift only God could give. I began to see things before it happened. Right? I would dream something, and the next 2 weeks, it come to pass. And the Lord began to shield me because I started speaking in tongues. One day, I was lying down on my bed, sleeping, and I was feeling so emotional that day. I lied down on my bed and I began to cry. I said, Lord, where are you, Lord? And while closing my eyes, I saw this white dove come down and fluttering. The dove began to flutter. And all of a sudden, I began to speak in tongues and I was saying this word. I said, Baba. No, I don't know. I don't call my father Baba. We say daddy, whatever it is. So I began to look up and say, what is Baba? And I know they call it Baba Father. Now, began to speak in this strange language that I never knew before. My daughter was in the room with me. She jumped up off her bed and she ran outside because she don't know what is that. But a question, God. I said, Lord, I don't think I'm speaking in tongues, I said, I am not speaking in tongues. That's something I never heard that language before. I don't believe I'm speaking in tongues. So I started to go to another church. I went to a church. So they were calling up people by the to come up to the altar. So I went up, and there were these people standing and praying over you. So this gentleman who's standing by the altar came to me, and he came by my ears and he whispered. He said, "You're doubting God that you're speaking in tongues, but God told me to tell you, you are."
Wow. God uses people to confirm, right?
He does. And the thing about it is that when the man told me that, I smiled. I smiled because here it is. God is revealing himself to me in ways that I didn't even imagine. All because I used to praise a lot. Now, worship brings in the presence of the Holy Spirit. I could testify to that. Worship, obedience brings in the Holy Spirit.
Well, I was about to ask you, Grace, for those that are watching and listening, number one question that I get most, how do you hear God's voice? How do you get close to him? And people struggle with consistency. They feel like they're just spending time and it's in thin air. Nothing is happening. So just listening to trajectory of your story, your relationship, it was so interesting, so different. But for those that are struggling to hear God's voice and they want to get closer to God, and you already shared some of the things, but what kind of advice would you give to those people?
First of all, I will tell them, get into a secret room. Get in a place where you tell the world outside, I don't know what to hear what you all have to say. I just want to be with the Lord.
No pen, paper, nothing, just no phone, no nothing.
No pen, no paper.
Okay.
That is what I did. I went in a room and I kneeled. And I began to say, God, if you're hearing me and you say you are the God of the Bible, you say you will never leave us nor forsake us. You said, ask and you shall receive it. Seek and you shall find it. Knock and the door shall be open unto you. Show yourself to me. Show yourself to me. And that day, when I told the Lord that, I felt the Holy Spirit came upon me. I was on fire.
You got to ask, right? Ask and you shall receive. You got to want it.
Yes, you have to quote God at His scriptures. Remember, He said that. You have to go to Him. You have to humble yourself. You have to tell God, listen, God, I fear you. Because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. People say that, oh, they don't fear the Lord. I fear Him. And I tell God that. I say, God, I fear you. Because you are the one is either to put me in hell or put me in heaven. I told God that. I said, I fear you, Lord. But at the same time, I love you. I love you more than anything else. And that is what my relationship began with God. I used to go every day and make my time and worship until the Lord used to show me things in the spiritual realm before it happened. Speak to me. I remember I had an experience with two guys. They were threatening me a lot for no reason because I stand up for something. And every day they used to come in front of my house and threatening me and saying all kind of things. And one day I said, Lord, I really can't take this anymore, Lord. So I went ahead and went to court. So when I went to court, the first day they didn't appear, right? They didn't serve the notice. Now, the next appearance at the court was a month after. When I dressed to come down the stairs, very loud, very clear, the Lord said, Grace, drop it. Do not go. I will deal with it. 2 weeks after, the Lord run them out. He protected me. He said, no, I will deal with the matter.
You got the best protection in the world.
Blood, I could testify. My mother could testify. My sisters could testify of the supernatural miracles God did in my life. I have many more testimonies of Jesus.
Well, Grace, I'm gonna have to get you on the main show. Would love to maybe possibly hear more. Would you be interested to do it on camera?
Sure.
Sounds good. Well, Grace, I got to run to another phone call here.
Yes.
I got a couple more. But in closing, for everyone watching and listening, before we disconnect, is there anything else you want to say to them?
Okay, what I want to say is that you all need to come off of social media in regards to watching all sort of nonsense on YouTube and only watch the Christian channels and the worship, because the more you watch the social media, the more you will move away from God. That's what I have.
That's distraction. Get you away from and it kind of destroys that muscle of waiting.
Not only that too, but the next time I tell you, see you when we call each other, I will tell you why I tell you that. It's not because I say it for myself, God told me that. Oh,
well, there's a cliffhanger right there. I guess we're going to have to tune in and listen more, guys. For everybody watching and listening, stay tuned for the full interview with Grace, and we'll answer that question. Well, Grace, thank you so much. And
thank you.
We'll stay in touch. God bless.
Okay, bye.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. If today's episode spoke to you, share with someone who needs to hear it. And if you had a supernatural encounter of your own, I'd love to hear it. Just go to godsvoicetoday.com/call to schedule your call. And I'll see you in the next episode. It should be coming up right here on the screen.